Hello everybody, welcome back to Commonwealth Flipper. Sales have been doing really well lately, and we've got all this stuff that we still need to list. But today we're going to talk about how to keep the sales going. I need to learn a little bit more about what is coming up. So I'm so stuck in what I love to pick that sometimes I'm out there and I'm missing stuff. I know I'm missing it because you guys are telling me on the Commonwealth Picker videos. And so I've been studying up a little bit. A lot of this I know, a lot of this you know, but I'm going to talk about the trends and the next generation. You know, I look at my boy, he's 22 years old now, and he's starting to get nostalgic about stuff. So I want to go through a detailed list of the things out there that are starting to sell, they have been selling, and they're going to start selling, even if they haven't already. Let's go take a look. If you are anything like me, you love to pick the stuff that you know that's highly recognizable for you, that you're familiar with from your childhood, and obviously the useful stuff and the stuff you learn over time. And I've learned, say, purses like way better than I've ever known. And my, landscape of picking is growing quickly, and I think it has really helped me this year. Probably more than any other year. And I want to add to that with the new stuff that people in their 20s, early 30s are really starting to look for and buy because now they got a little bit of money. You know, I'm too old to remember Stitch when I was a child because I came along much later, and I still pick it up though because I've learned it. You know, it's going to sell better than this stuff. I hate to say, not all of it, but there's a lot of people, there's things that kind of age out, right? You know, people that remember stuff from their childhood and they're in their 80s, that's the last thing they want to do is necessarily go on there and start loading up their house with stuff from their childhood. I suppose there are some, but it doesn't happen as much. But people who have money now, this is a Stitch doll angel. It's an Easter angel, I guess. This one sold for $15.15 plus shipping. I paid $1 for it. All right, I'm throwing this in this video right now because I forgot to read it, so... Thank you, Kevin, for all the videos. I have been off my feet for the last couple of months, stuck with my leg elevated. And your videos let me get out and about and see different areas and places that I was not able to experience during this time. Thanks again for everything. Joe, Billy Joe, Gavin, and Maddie. Thank you. What really got me thinking, well, I've been thinking about this for a while, but the other day, and I mentioned this on the last video, I brought home a ton of Bed Bath & Beyond, Bath & Body Works stuff, scents, and all kinds of stuff. Tons of it. It's going to make a bunch of money off it. And both my wife and my future daughter-in-law were in there, and they were just, oh, you remember this one? You remember this one? They were going through, they were taking stuff for themselves. I'm like, wow, just a scent. And they wanted it, and they wanted to wear it for nostalgia. And they don't make those anymore. And I was like, okay, this is really interesting to me, especially not the part with my wife, but the part with my daughter-in-law. And what they do now, they're into new things, they're into whatever, but they're starting to already look back, early 20s, starting to look back just 8 years, 10 years, and wanting those things that aren't produced anymore. And so I started thinking about this, and I've done quite a bit of research and wrote some stuff. A lot of this I already know. I've done 2 phases. So this first stuff is stuff that most you experienced resellers already out there know. The other thing was something my wife showed me the other day. She said, that's a bolo. And I'm like, that's a bolo? I never heard of this thing. What are you talking about, a bolo? And turned out it was a bolo and is already passed before I ever saw one or could recognize one. The mind works in funny ways. You know, once you know something, once you've seen it, you tend to find it. And that's hopefully what this is going to do for some of us folks who are stuck in our own way of picking things out there. Some of these early ones, this is trending and emerging nostalgic items, but this is the trending part right now already. And then we'll get to ones that might be trending here in the future, and you might be able to snatch them up for a pretty good penny. Pretty cheap penny, I should say. Already hot, but demand is growing fast. Now, obviously, this is all subjective here. This is a little anecdotal. So some of these I'm like, no. Some of these are like, yeah, no kidding. So some of them are obvious, like the Nintendo GameCube stuff. Definitely, there's ups and downs in different genres. I've mentioned Xbox 360, the stuff that I never used to pick up before, has actually gone up. Some of it has gone up a little bit in value over the last year or so, and for different reasons. and a lot of it still hasn't, and a lot of stuff, of course, you know, early PS1 stuff, some of that stuff is really good too. Nintendo GameCube, PS2, Xbox, the OG, DS Lite, games like Smash Brothers, Melee, Mario Kart, Double Dash, Tony Hawk Pro Skater. See, I would have thought that's definitely not worth money, but hey. Kingdom Hearts, Halo 2, prices are surging, especially for complete in-box and factory sealed. So this is, some of this stuff's obvious, right? And people are, you know, I used to pass up DVDs all the time. And now I'm going out and it's like, hey, if it's not streaming over here, I think I can make some money off some of this stuff. And so this mentions a few, the OC, Friends, The Office, Laguna Beach. I don't think Friends and The Office, as far as I've seen out there, are really ticking up. Although I did see that, I looked up something from The Office the other day and I was surprised. I'm like, really? That has value? I didn't think it would have any. Listen to this one. Burned mixed CDs. Whew, that hurts me right there. But I kind of get it, right? That was an era too. We think of the old mixed cassette. That was an era too. And so some people like that stuff out there. Of course, they're pirated. The Slim Jewel case. I don't know if I'd mess with that. People are craving that high school bedroom feeling. Portable DVD players are oddly popular again. And look them up sometimes. So I sold one probably 6 months ago, and it was because it was a throw-in in a box, and I didn't even really want it. And I looked it up. I'm like, this thing sells for 30 bucks. I was shocked. Now, they don't all sell for that much. But, hey, you know, you go back 5 years, you couldn't give that stuff away. It's like Troll Dolls, right? So Troll Dolls, you know, span many generations, but these old ones do great. And some of the new ones may do okay. I mean, the Raspberry ones are a little rough. So sometimes it's that multi-generational stuff that the kids like, the 30-year-olds, like the old stuff too. This is a damn Troll Doll right there. You can see it's stamped on the back. It's not always on the foot down here. Sometimes you got to look on the back. And you can tell by the age of the felt clothing. This is Thomas. So for $21.56, I believe, plus shipping. Again, some of this stuff is trending already. Some of this stuff is well known. Obviously, they're going to mention Pokemon cards, the old ones, but that's still hot. Talk about multi-generational. Of course, Ruby and Sapphire, Diamond and Pearl era, 2003 to 2008 are growing in value, and those were the kids who now have cash, and that's what I think is important here. You know, because when you get your parents, it's like you can't get whatever. You know, if I had the money I had now when I was a kid, boy, I'd have spent it pretty dumb ways. Neopets plush and merch, especially limited to store exclusives, are resurging. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX 5Ds, cards, and tins are now what 30-year-olds feel most nostalgic for, not just OG blue-eyed decks. Okay, speaking of nostalgia and Halloween, actually. Halloween, y'all, we're going to blink and it's going to be Halloween, so get that fall stuff up now. Never too early. This has been here. I bought this at the 301 sale last year. It's been over a year. It's a Pennywise costume. There it is right there. And I paid next to nothing for this one, but it did take quite a while to sell, but it sold for full price, $39 plus shipping. So I will take it for sure. That is funky. Boy, Reagan would be scared. She don't like scary clowns or scary dolls. 39 bucks though, not bad. We're going to get into some different stuff. These categories to me are into lots of different ones. I'm not into sneakers, of course. But I can always learn. You can teach an old dog new tricks. DC shoes. Osiris, Globe, Nike, SB Dunks, early Yeezys, Ed Hardy, True Religion. I could see it. Early Supreme. Well, you know, whatever. Affliction. I sold Affliction yesterday after sitting around forever. Scene Emo era Hot Topic shirts. I could see that for sure. Bracelets. Hair dye from back then, certain nostalgic hair dyes, crazy. Abercrombie and Hollister. This is like the third incarnation of this. This is the not in production, vintage stuff. This stuff's coming back. A lot of those mall brands. My wife was talking about it with her friend yesterday, and they're younger than me, of course. But, you know, they're not exactly in their 30s here. They've crept over that line just a shade. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, babe. She always says she's 25 in her heart. But boy, they used to spend a lot of time at those malls, and those mall categories, those mall name brands from back then that don't exist anymore, especially, those are the ones that have, you've already seen the uptick, and that's what we're looking at really kind of now. We're going to look into stuff that might be right around the corner so you can get out there and get it early. By the way, those mall brands, especially Abercrombie, Hollister, it's the graphic tees that have the labeling on them, the branding on them, that are going the best. And the scents, they said the scents are what are going up the fastest. So if you can find those, they should be pretty good. Mortal Kombat Trilogy. And this is Nintendo 64. This one sold for 30 bucks. Plus shipping. This next one's interesting because it mentions something that I mentioned over a year ago, and there was very, very, very few out there. And I made my own comp for this, and I'm like, I remember my boy watching this, or playing this, I guess I should say, and he loved it. And I remember him saying something to him, to my wife, to his mother about, and it made me think this is something when he's a little older, when he has a little money, he's going to be nostalgic about. And sure enough, it was. This set, well, I'll just start with the one I'm talking about. Club Penguin merch, especially limited shirts and toys, is gaining really quickly. So there you go on, you can look at Club Penguin stuff, and there's a bunch of stuff listed for high dollars. Not tons of sold comps, but people are asking higher prices. I can't remember the Club Penguin item I picked up and sold, but it did pretty well, and I remember saying on there, I'm just going to make my comp up for it. And it eventually sold. So there's one of those things. Kids born in the early 1990s and mid 2000s are going wild for Webkins with unused codes, and I've sold those before. I've sold the one. I don't know. I have to look at the current comps on that one, but the unused codes ones are the ones you would like to get, and I imagine some of those have some value. So I'll have to do my research on those. Some of these I already have done my research. Some of you might be looking at your phone right now if you're watching this on a TV. By the way, tell me what you're watching this on. If you're watching it on a TV, if you're watching it on a phone, on a tablet, on a computer, I'm curious to know because the trends are shifting in that too. Tamagotchi connection models. Not the original ones. They're trending again. Okay. Early smartphones and tech. I'm going to look at this one because I think this one is interesting to me, and I've seen some really high sold comps on some of this stuff if it's new old stock. Next one is from the Filipino Flip. You have not seen this video yet. It's got to be coming out pretty quick though on the Picker channel. I've got a lot of videos. I'm getting through them like 4 weeks behind, but this one is an Elite series. There's a tub full of cards. I called up Kerry, my buddy, American Arbitrage, and he's like, yeah, didn't see anything in there that stood out. But as we dug deeper later, him and Rod picking and punching, he's like, oh, that one's good. That one's good. So I found 3 out of that little bucket so far that have been definitely worth selling, and there's probably a lot more. I just haven't got to the bottom of it yet. This Andre Dawson Elite series, it's numbered in the earliest eras of them numbering cards. 1990 Leaf here. Out of 10,000, but it's still sold for good money. $56.95 plus shipping. All right, early smartphones and tech. And this is an interesting one because I think there's so many variables involved in this stuff that it really almost got to be not necessarily niche down, but you really got to have an education on this. But sometimes you just pick up stuff and figure something out later, right? I think the safe bet is if you find new old stock tech sealed, you just grab it, because it could be really good. I've seen the original iPhone still sealed in a box go for just stupid money. And so if you're fortunate enough to find one of those, you're in business. iPod Video Classic. Okay, Video and Classic. iPod Video and iPod Classics, 2005 to 2012. I've sold that stuff before. iPhone 3G, 3GS4 in mint condition or in the box. You got a lot of money there. Flip phones and Motorola Razors as collectibles or aesthetic props, not necessarily for use, although I've seen that a lot lately as well. And this stuff's out there, y'all. This stuff could be found. I see it often, and maybe I need to really look into, I just type in something like Motorola Razor and then go to highest sold prices, and you can learn a little bit about what's actually going versus what's the stuff that, you know, you might not even want to deal with. I don't even understand this one right here. AIM login screens and MSN Messenger soundboards. Login screens and Messenger soundboards. Maybe those, I don't know that how you could sell that necessarily, but maybe there's some connection there. I don't know. I said the other day that I was surprised my daughter was nostalgic about VHS. It wasn't because it was hot when she was a kid. It's because because that's what I watched with her when she was a kid. And so don't ignore that stuff for the new generation either. We used to sit there and watch Shirley Temple videos, and we'd watch old Disney VHS, and she would put the video in and hit the button and all that. So she's nostalgic. Not that every kid would be, because she lives with a old dad who's nostalgic himself. A Don Bluth film Rockadoodle, sealed VHS. That sold right there, y'all. Look at that. Huh. It's got 5. Well, it's got all those different characters for the... There you go. Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and An American Tale. That sold for $12, y'all. Plus shipping. And a lot of this stuff they associate... I guess that's what maybe the other stuff up there was about. Where they're not necessarily tangible things, but tangible things are being made out of them. Say Etsy folks or whatever. And so Tumblr dashboards... Fandom meme art, Super Who lock, I don't even know what that is. Homestuck merch, I also don't know what that is. So I've got some homework to do myself here. And so people are taking these things, making buttons and pins and magnets and whatever, and t-shirts out of it. Cringecore nostalgia is in. I thought cringecore was a now thing. Is that an old thing that's... people, is that an old thing? And I don't know. I got to do some research on cringecore. Tell me if you know what the heck that is. More old media. It just old me. I tell you, it's got a life to it. I don't care what it is. Some, you know, some say 8 tracks are just too far gone to be valuable. It's just, but I still see some of them selling. It's not a category I would completely ignore. I wouldn't spend hours and hours and hours if I had other opportunities. But if I don't, I'm going to look through it just for my own sake. And you know me and cassettes. Right here, and I don't make, you know, it'd be pretty hard to make a living off of just cassettes. I probably shouldn't have showed you. There's an explicit cover on that one. Bill Nelson, cassette tape, Enigma, Savage Gestures, For Charm's Sake. This one sold for $13.96 plus shipping. I guess those of us with kids in that age range, and two of my, you know, I have a 22-year-old, I have a 15-year-old, and I have an 11-year-old, so it'll be different for each of them as they age and want to buy back a little piece of their childhood. And not everybody does, but most people do, or at least they're nostalgic about it enough that somebody can give it to them as a gift or something. But let me know out there if you watch your own kids and their trends, if they're in their early 20s, mid-20s, late 20s, maybe even early 30s out there. And what is it that they're interested in buying back? And you should be familiar with some of that stuff, I would imagine, just simply because your kids were in your household. Like some of these things right here. This is niche toys and collectibles here. Zoobles. I don't think I know what a Zooble is. Bakugan, the early series. I get that, and I'll buy those, and they're surprisingly do well. Some of the later stuff that came out doesn't do quite as good. Mighty Beans. I remember those. Trash Pack. I don't think I know what that is. This is true of all ages right here. Scholastic, well, not all ages, but most. Scholastic Book Fair Ephemera, Spy Pens, Gel Pens, Animorphs, and books. You know, I was growing up, it was those, a lot of the cool pencils and the kind you, like, put the lead in, the little, not the lead, long lead pieces, but the little ones. The stuff that, you know, scratch and sniff stickers and all that interesting stuff. Animorphs books. I don't think I know what that is. I probably should. Toys from TV advertised brands like Moonsand, Aquadots. It says that those were recalled. And Floam. I think I've heard of Moonsand. Maybe Bubba and Jacob even had them. I'm not sure. Aquadots, I can't remember. And Floam, I can't remember. By the way, I should have mentioned that the last 2 little series I read from here in between sales were the things they think are up and coming that are going to start popping. Easy, so they may not be there yet. Easy Grammar, grade 5 student workbook. These were the batch that just didn't sell, and we sold tons of this stuff. We made like $500-600 off of one buy, and these didn't sell, so we put them on discount, and this one sold $10.46 plus shipping. This one I might have my doubts about a little bit. However, I do remember a trend that might be the reason why this is possible. So, yearbooks, school spirit gear from 2007 to 2012. I remember when I first started teaching, I was like, man, nobody has a Letterman's jacket, you know, sweaters back in the day. Nobody wore that stuff. They wouldn't be caught dead. But then right around that era, about 6-8 years into teaching, they started to pop up again. And there was this There was an enthusiasm for like school dances again in that time period, and the pep rallies and stuff. And then it died out towards the end of my teaching career, and you didn't see it again. So maybe there's something to that. College t-shirts from major party schools to recreate era vibes. SAT prep books? That's interesting. I don't know about that. TI-83 calculators as joke nostalgia? Man, that used to be like you had to get that stuff and it would say they don't sell for what they used to. Just go back 3 or 4 years, they don't sell for that. I had one of the best finds I ever found in my life. And looking back on it, knowing what I know now, this guy probably worked for a school system and lifted them. I didn't even think about it back then. I'm like, how does this guy get all this scratched in numbers and stuff on the back? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I bought a box full of those things for $1 a piece. And then a few years back, I bought another box. And they didn't go for nearly as much, 4 years later from that early find. That was before I was doing YouTube. But Twilight and Hunger Games YA book adaptation merch. And my experience with Twilight and Hunger Games stuff is it has not sold. But it was really heavily produced. So maybe it'll start popping. They're predicting here. Original Hot Topic Twilight shirts and merch. I think that's probably true. Just going back to find that original stuff that was exactly like they wore back then. That's a possibility, I think. Speaking of nostalgia, you got to go way back on this channel for nostalgia. Do you remember the last time I sold one of these? I love Rockwell stuff, especially with the dogs in it. But we've sold a bunch of different types of these. The ones that sold the fastest were during COVID, the famous doctor, giving the shot thing. But these have not sold very much. We bought hundreds and hundreds of 5 different types. And we've sold bunches of them. We were into them like literally for 2 pennies a piece. It might have been 1 penny. And so we're not getting much for this one because it's on 35% off. Or excuse me, 30% off. $5.59 plus shipping. So we might make $4 on that. But we have 16 to go. And we probably started with like 25. This has been the least popular. And I will probably be retired before we sell 16 more of those. Midnight Sun, early Hunger Games, movie promo items, Percy Jackson, pre-Disney reboot editions. I could look out for that. This next one is from Jacob, and I'm going to read this in a second, but I'll start with the first one here. This is a Cabbage Patch. I think it's sporty. I saw this one the other day. This one sold on clearance as well. I think $13.30. I think it's... Yeah, I pulled something out of here the other day and I remembered. I'm like, oh, I forgot that thing was still listed. This is number 31, and Cabbage Patch, just like anything else, has its winners and losers, and this guy's losing his pants. Speaking of losers, better pull that up. This one's not a great one. Head molds are a big deal, of course. If you haven't watched my video, you can watch that Cabbage Patch video, top 10 video, with the Daily Cabbage herself, Sarah. So that one sold to Jacob. And he says, thank you. I enjoy watching your channel when I'm packing my own items to ship. Fun to listen to another person with a similar mentality as my own. Thank you again and take care. Jacob, thank you very much. And from what you've got here, I imagine you are probably around my age. And I did have a Cabbage Patch Kid. My mom got me Cabbage. I was never really into Cabbage Patch Kid. But, at Christmas time, we didn't have much money. We really didn't. But my mom always, and my dad a little bit, but it was basically my mom, would spoil us at Christmas. We didn't get stuff all year round, but we got stuff on our birthdays. We got stuff at Christmas. And that was pretty much it, to be honest with you. But we had good Christmases with full stockings and a bunch of gifts under the tree. And that, of course, included Triclops, Motu stuff. This one's a pretty good one, y'all. With the weapon. The weapon is the key. $21, $20.97 plus shipping. My phone is ringing and I see a dog out there. And there's a cat too. And that Motu stuff, like it came, that's the Battle Cat. And later Thundercats and stuff. But that stuff, there's new Motu stuff out, but it really wasn't accompanied by anything that would get a whole new generation involved. Not that I can recall anyways. And so the value of that stuff has really diminished the old stuff, but not really done much for the new stuff either. They overproduced it, in my opinion, without having huge, rebranding, more movies or whatever, something going with it. Zodak with the weapons. I think it sold for the same amount, $20. 97 cents, yeah. Plus shipping on that one. Retail store specific nostalgia, and we've seen some of this already, but some of these are new to me. Limited 2 bags, Claire's lip gloss, Justice notebooks, Toys R Us and Blockbuster branded items. I get that. Old mall store uniforms and lanyards. And so if it was in the mall and it was an actual uniform that, you know, there's a certain amount of people out there who worked at these places, and you know, that stuff's out there and can be found. You know, Abercrombie, Hollister, Wet Seal is a big one as well. And what else am I missing? Bonus categories that will keep growing according to them. We'll see. Going back to the golf club head cover bin, which I used to do all the time, and sadly I don't do much anymore. Not because it's not selling, it's because I don't have anything to sell. Unfortunately, I have to take that one down. These are old pom-poms. I thought they were brown. Maybe they are blue. Maybe I just can't remember. I'm gonna hope they're blue, because that's what I see in here. Let me double check. I don't see any brown. I see black. Oh, there's the brown right there. Okay. So these old pom-pom head covers, they can occasionally sell. Most of the time people use them for decor or something around the golf course house or something like that, an Airbnb maybe even. And these sold for 20 bucks. That's not a bad sale right there. I'll take it. 20 bucks plus shipping. All right, so the bonus category, and these are things they think are going to be marketed to, you know, 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, which is my era here. Cassette tapes, right? I can see the CD players for sure, especially the, you know, the Sony ones, the Walkman type stuff. VHS tapes with recording labels. Interesting. So, and like I said, sometimes it's like my daughter is nostalgic for VHS just simply because I guess I made her that way, right? Because we watched that stuff. First gen YouTube nostalgia. That's my youngest boy for sure. And Reagan to a certain degree as well. Like he watched, what was he? Oh, he would watch so much stuff. FGTV, and that's still, you know, Kindly Key In. I think he got a plush. The dog got the plush. But that's been a while back right now when he was littler. And those things have good resale value. So that's one thing that, you know, they're niched down, but they're not highly produced. And so when somebody wants them, they're harder to find. So that's something that would take some research out there in the field. But there's a lot of early YouTube channels and not so early YouTube channels that will have items that kids really, really want once they get older and want some money. I guarantee Turner will be in that group right there. First gen YouTube nostalgia. Fred Smosh. I don't know what that says. I don't think I want to repeat it. Parody DVDs, internet fashion, shutter shades, jelly bracelets, meme shirts, cool story bro, etc. I gotta go back here again. This time it's not for a head cover, it is for a hat. And it's an NFL hat. Let me pull it out. And this one is nothing amazing, but it is a Puma branded strap back Broncos hat, and it is new, so for 14 bucks plus shipping. This one I can attest to a little bit. Littlest Pet Shop stuff. I've seen a slight uptick in certain amounts of those. What else have we not mentioned? Hannah Montana stuff. Highly, highly produced, though, and for a long time. High School Musical stuff. Early DVD box sets and portable players. I think we talked about that already. But yeah, a lot of that Disney Channel merch. There's no doubt. What was that one show my daughter watched? Actually, my oldest son watched it as well. I can see the girl, but it's just slipping my mind right now. Maybe y'all can help me. It's a Harley Polo that did not sell on full price, but it did finally sell. 30% off. I think just under $11 for that Harley Polo. That's a pretty good deal for that one right there. Size large, plus shipping. Oh, hey. How y'all doing? What are you nostalgic for? Huh? You can't be. You're too young. You want a treat? Is that what you're nostalgic for? Here's one more little trend within a trend. They're saying that a lot of folks are doing nostalgic bundles in packs, and they pre-make this nostalgic bundle and then put the dates on there for it, and people will buy that, not just on eBay, but on a different thing like Etsy and stuff like that. And you kind of curate it, and people will buy it as a gift and give it to somebody just like that. I think that's interesting. Put a bunch of stuff together that maybe they don't all want, but it just brings back a whole rush of all kinds of different memories. I think that's not, I might try something like that. It'd be kind of fun. So the last one of these 10-ounce Lowball Arctic. I think they're back here. Yeah, there they are. There's that one right there. And this one sold, I knew they'd be slow sellers. Let me make sure. It says it's the last one. Are these tall ones? Yeah, that looks like a tall one too. This is a smaller one. I think it's 10 ounce. It says 12 ounce. I'll have to double check it. And you know what? Let's see. Might put the wrong ounces on it. We'll have to see, but I think it's this one. Sold for $12.95 plus shipping, and I bought a bunch of them for like $2 a piece. So not a lot of profit, but it was a multi-quantity listing, and they're all gone. I did mislist it. I listed it as 10 ounces. It was 12. And this is the last one that sold, so they've all sold like that. And I haven't had a return, so, you know, you get 2 free ounces, I guess. I've read quite a bit of different stuff here, and one thing that they're almost uniformly across the board is like a lot of this millennial stuff and that age group, you know, it's not priced really high yet, and it's slowly increasing, so you can find it. And, you know, I don't encourage people to buy a bunch of stuff and let it sit for 5 years before the value goes up. But, you know, if you buy it for the right price and list it, it might not sell right off the bat, but as time goes by and the prices rise, it might sell. Who knows? We'll see. Let me look up a few more things. I got one more item to pull. One of the very first things I sold for really good money when I really needed it back when I was teaching in my early years was a CB radio, and it was the exact same classic kind Cobra that they used in the Dukes of Hazzard. I'm not sure I can get this out of here. And it sold for great money because that movie happened to be coming out right then, and it sold for like 280 bucks. I was like, sweet. And I oftentimes pass up CB radios just if they don't look like they're in great condition, because I'm not great at testing them and all that and cleaning them. But this one looked clean as a whistle. And this is a number 18 WXST 240 channel. 40 bucks for that one. Go shipping. All right, this one, I'm just going to go through a bunch. It's a different site here, but DVD box sets like Lizzie McGuire, Drake and Josh, The OC, One Tree Hill, Nickelodeon VHS tapes. And I've sold quite a few of those, especially if you can find them new. SpongeBob, Rugrats, Hey Arnold, sealed, or rare editions, Disney Channel original movie merchandise or promo item releases, MTV or Cartoon Network promo gear. I've sold a bunch of that. Toonami and Adult Swim. Fashion accessories, 2000 to 2010, the Y2K brands and fashion. So some of these are in right now. We already know some of these. Von Dutch, Baby Fat, Ed Hardy, Juicy Couture. I mean, there's tons of stuff. I go on forever. Graphic tees from Hot Topic, Urban Outfitters. That's a repeat. Snapbacks and trucker hats from brands like Echo, DC, Famous Stars and Straps, Heelys, Osiris shoes, especially if they're new. Tech gadgets, we've kind of gone over that before. This site even goes over the Club Penguin stuff as well. McDonald's Happy Meal toys, specific ones, Sonic, Spy Kids, and My Little Pony in full sets, new in the package. Taco Bell or Pizza Hut promos, Star Wars tie-ins, collectible cups, BK, Pokemon, Burger King Pokemon Gold cards, early 2000s plush. So I've sold that stuff before, for sure. Junie B. Jones, I remember, boy, that's true. Magic Treehouse, Captain Underpants sets, and some of that stuff I've sold as well. Goosebumps 2000 era books. And of course, no list would be complete. Well, I should have said Peppa Pig, but that's a little older too. Without anything Lisa Frank, and that's been hot for a long time. So definitely, and that was something it took me a while to learn. I probably passed up Lisa Frank stuff for years, until maybe 7-8 years ago. So let me know from your point of view, what are we missing? What are they missing here? What do we old folks need to get better at? I'm all about learning and adding to the repertoire. We do it all the time, and it really makes this job a lot easier. If you stay stuck in there, if you're an everything seller, if you stay stuck, it limits what's out there, because they're not making more of this old stuff, but they're making more new stuff all the time that's going to get old. And I think this is really fun to do it that way. And I got to learn some new categories, and I can live my child's childhood instead of them living mine. Here's a couple here. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I get that one. Zune MP3 players. I've sold those before. They go up for decent money. Old limited edition Monster Energy and Mountain Dew cans. Skateboards from the 2000 brands Element Zero and Baker. iMac G3s and colorful electronics. It's a lot of stuff to remember. All right, I got a cat in here that's gonna get up on this thing here. But I remembered what Bubba used to watch when he was a kid. He used to watch iCarly. And so I know he's nostalgic for that. But I had to ask you, what was the Disney show that you watched?
I only watched Casey Undercover. That was my favorite.
Casey Undercover. That was the one. Okay. I wonder if they put out any merch or stuff like that. If you saw a Casey Undercover t-shirt when you're like 25, would you buy it?
Maybe.
You probably would. And Turner You watch some classic ones. You like some stuff that was nostalgic for people much older. But what's your favorite thing to watch?
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob, and you like SpongeBob,
Yeah,
for sure. And how about on YouTube? What did you watch?
FGTV.
FGTV, and what was the other one?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Mutant on YouTube.
Nickelodeon.
On Nickelodeon. Okay, but you watched Kindly Keen as well. So, at any rate, should be in. And you think like, what is it, Baldy Pal? You used to. What was that Baldy Pal?
Yeah,
That terrible nonsense. So there's a lot of stuff out there that I got to get up on so we can learn how to pick it out there. Can you think of anything else you'd be nostalgic for when you get older?
I mean like Harry Potter.
Yeah, but that's still,
probably
it's
still
like
old.
multi-generational. Same thing with Teenage Mutant Ninja
Spider-Man
Turtles and
too,
SpongeBob, so Spider-Man. And Miles Morales stuff when you get older too, right? All right, anyways, look at that cat.
Oh, Cars.
Cars,
That's a
yeah.
good one.
That was Bubba and you guys,
Yep.
for sure. Anyway, thank y'all.
Bye.
So thank y'all for joining us, and I can't wait to see you next time.